Um, so, good evening, everyone, and hi, Dushan, hi, Santan. Thank you for joining us. And
Yeah.
we are the idea of over here today is to discuss the IIM Bangalore EPGP program. So, this is the 1 year MBA program, and we have a recent admit and an IIM Bangalore graduate from the same program, so that they can share their contemporary as well as a very realistic view of what the expectations from the program should be, and so that the viewers can understand their programs. And do keep on sharing your questions. We'll be happy to take them up to address those questions as well. And a lot of people have already shared their questions, so we'll be addressing those questions during the course of this discussion. So about us, we are admissions consultants, and we deal with the MBA admissions for top tier schools in India as well as abroad, and mainly institutions like the IIM and the ISB. And today we have Mr. Sayantan. He has an oil and gas industry background, and he's an IIM Bangalore graduate. And currently he's working in the IT sector. And Dushyant has a background with ITC, and he's currently scheduled to join the IIM Bangalore program in this current session of 24. Right. So when we look at the 1 year MBA programs for executives, what are the the options? And the ones that we are considering here are the programs which are ranked by the FT. So we have the IIM PGPX program, IIM Bangalore EPGP program, the IIM Calcutta MBX program. Again, IIM Lucknow and IIM Indore also have their own 1 year programs, and ISB PGP, which is again a 1 year MBA program, but the whole the batch, the range or the class profile for all of these programs is quite different. If you look at the IIM 1 year MBA programs, these have a batch size, a smaller batch size. The average work experience is on the higher end. However, when you look at the ISB PGP, the batch size is higher, and the average work experience is at a slightly almost half of what the IIMs would have. So again, choosing any of these programs depends totally on the way you like to learn. If you think that you need to have a class around you or the cohort around you which would have a similar work experience as yours, then the IIM programs do make a lot of sense. And if you look at the batch size, if you like to learn in a smaller class, the IIM programs definitely have a smaller cohort, a more close-knit cohort, and at the ISB you have a cohort of around 900 with the average work experience of 4.6 years. So, having said this, again, it is a personal choice. You have to look at where you are coming from and what your career goals are to decide what program will work best for you. So, coming to this part of the discussion, I would like that Sayantan and Dushyant, you should please share your career journey till date, share your profiles and why you chose a 1 year MBA in India. So, Sayantan, if you would like to go first.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to all our viewers, and thank you to GOALisB and Shruti for having me here. Uh, so, let's give a brief about my background. So, I am a metallurgical engineer by training, and then I joined Indian Oil, where I worked for 5.5 years. So, after a few years, I realized that it is very necessary to get a perspective of the business if you want to move ahead in your career, if you want to progress in your career. And at the same time, it is also necessary to do a business school, to be in a business school if you want to pivot in your career. So, with these two ideas in mind, I actually went for an MBA. Now, why a 1 year MBA over a 2 year MBA? So again, like after you have worked for 4 or 5 years, a 2 year MBA, it can be an option, but it is more wise to choose an 1 year MBA because you have an experience, and the other part is the 1 year MBA actually gives you, it actually takes 1 year less of your time, so the opportunity cost is much lower than a 2 year MBA. So that is why I chose an 1 year MBA over a 2 year. Yeah.
Dushyant, please share your career journey and why you chose a 1 year MBA in India.
Sure, sure. Thank you everybody for joining in. Thanks, Shruti, for having me. Um, Basic background about me: I'm a hospitality professional. I joined ITC Hotels in 2012, part of their management institute based in Gurgaon. Post which I was posted in Mumbai as a manager, and I transcended to a banquet manager in 2019, and I was based in Bangalore. When I was here, my portfolio shifted to becoming an assistant F&B manager. Purpose I was privy to a lot of management meetings where there would be a lot of revenue meetings, marketing meetings, cost meetings. And through these meetings, I realized that I have a substantial gap which I need to cover as far as business education is concerned, because a lot of terms and a lot of strategies which were being discussed were completely alien to me. And when I discussed it with my peers and my seniors, the basic advice I got was that you need to study more, you need to educate yourself, and the executive programs, they made a lot of sense for me to pursue. That's the reason that I chose to go for this, and that has been my journey. And by the 1 year MBA is, as Santhan very correctly put, it's after you have 4 5 years of experience, there is a maturity level that comes in. You have different discussions with people who have experiences as far as case studies and business problems are concerned. They can only be addressed by people of your maturity or superior maturity level.
Right. So we know that yes, these programs are ranked. They have an FT ranking. Then there is a huge variety of diversity which is coming into the class. Oil and gas, IT services, financial institutions. These form a major part of the incoming class for the IMB, the EPGP program, as well as if you look at the functions, it would be operations, IT product services, and consulting. And given this diversity, Santhan, what was your experience of the class like? What would be some insider takeaways that you have from your experience in such a class during your MBA?
So yeah, diversity actually matters a lot in MBA, is what I felt. So when you interact with people having different backgrounds, having different experiences in their professional lives, and when you get to share those, your horizon widens. So that is really important, and the level of discussion you get to have with your peers, it's really opens up your mind. So it is very difficult for an individual to learn so many things at a very limited time. So the diversity, the level of discussion we used to had, it really made it easy for us to learn together as a cohort.
Right. So we have a question here. I think, Dushyant, you could contribute to answering this. So Arjun says that I have a total work experience of 4 years, and as per the slide showed, the 1 year MBA courses in IIMs have a work ex of 7 to 8 years. So is it worth to join the 1 year MBA with 5 years of work experience? So, in this kind of a situation, uh, what is it that you feel would be worthwhile, as takeaways or considerations that one should have before joining this program?
Well, it's a great question. In hindsight, if I look at my experience, I have learned the most from my seniors, or people who have had more experience in handling situations, than from people who are either at the same level or just freshers. So it makes a lot of sense for you to pursue an MBA where the experience level is so high, because there is a lot of uh, there are a lot of situations that these people have handled, of which you have no experience of which you have no exposure of. And it's a good idea to go for it.
Yes, and I would add to this, Arjun, is one thing is that once you join at the lower range of the bandwidth, then you have the whole spectrum to take your takeaways from. So if you have an average work experience which is close to the school average, that is the ideal situation, yes. But an average means that there's somebody at the lower end of the spectrum as well. So look at it not from the 5 years work experience point of view, but look at it from where do you want to go. So does the program deliver, or does the program have a cohort which will help you grow into who you want to become in the future? If you think that is fitting your goals, then you choose this program. So the program definitely is has a lot of takeaways. Again, the idea is of where you're coming from and where you want to go. So if you can match that and talk to a lot of more people, and build that understanding of what your expectation is and how does the program fulfill it, I think it is definitely worthwhile going in for the program. Right. So, when we call this program as an executive MBA, so is this, Santhan, you have a first-hand experience of this, and the executive MBAs are technically supposed to be the part-time programs or the weekend MBA programs, and I think this is more like a full-time MBA for executives rather than an executive MBA. So, in that perspective, what was your experience like in class? Did it feel like it was a second program to the best, and how was it?
So yeah, this question, like we asked this question to our seniors, and yeah, so now I'm being asked this question. So again, to address this, generally executive MBA are part-time program as you mentioned, but the EPGP program of IMB is a 1 year full-time program. So here you have to be fully dedicated, fully devoted to the program. And the thing is that okay, so you need to be fully dedicated to this program because the time is limited, but it is not really a part-time program that an executive MBA normally refers to.
So it is more rigorous than what you would expect from an executive MBA. So you cannot call it an executive MBA as such, but though it is a program for executives, that
So
means
if
you actually have to go back to your books and push in more. Yes, please.
definitely, so if we look at the class hours in total, the EPGP program has around approximately 8 hours of class, and while the PGP program has 9 hours of class, and PGP which is the weekend course for working professionals, that also have close to around 800 hours class class time. So all the three programs, the class hours are almost similar. So to cover the course in 1 year, it is really a rigorous course.
Right. So this is what I was about to bring up, that IIM Bangalore actually provides four programs which are all awarding MBA degrees. So one is the main PGP program, then you have the PGP, which is the BA, that is the business analytics, and the IMB EPGP. This is a 1 year full-time program. It started in 2009, so now it is a very old program. It has a lot of alumni that you can reach out to. And the PGP this is again, it started in 1998. So this is the 2 years weekend MBA program. So all of these programs add the same value to your career. The whole difference comes as to at what point in your career you are and what type of an experience that, is it that you want. So if you are a fresher with 0 years of work experience to maybe around 2 years of work experience, the PGP and the PGPBA would provide you that learning from the cohort. Whereas if you are a working professional and you don't want to leave your work, the PGPEM is definitely more suitable. However, if you want to pivot yourself in terms of changing your career direction, then the EPGP program, the 1 year full-time program, will provide you ample opportunities to groom yourself as well as seek those opportunities from the work life as well. So we had another question over here, that is the how is the 1 year executive MBA program better than the normal 2 year program? Is there any difference? So in terms of Dushant, you must have conducted some research when you decided on to taking up a 1 year MBA program. Are there any differences that you would like to share over here that you felt were important?
Well, most have told us that the syllabus or what is taught to you is more or less the same. There isn't much difference there. What I have been told, the difference is that there's a lot of case study based preparation through the course. Uh, but why the 2 year, why the 1 year and not the 2 year? Even the IIM Ahmedabad faculty, I think the chairman said that they're phasing out the 2 year MBA very soon,
Yes.
and 1 year MBA is the future. So I'd say yeah, 1 year is for the future, if not better than
So
the
it
two
is the
year.
new normal now.
It's the new normal. Hmm.
Yeah. There was another very specific question that had been sent to us, which was that provided that I want to settle in India over the long run with a current work experience of 4 years, should I go abroad for a 1 year MBA or wait for the I'm ABC 1 year MBA course? So I have 2 points over here for this question. One would be the ROI in terms of what do you want to invest in to the program, and what is it that you're looking at in terms of career opportunities. However, just to look at it without, minus your resume or any other details about your profile, my suggestion over here would be that if you want to settle in India, then if you're going abroad for an MBA or a 1 year MBA, one is that you need a high work experience. The average work experience abroad for a 1 year MBA is pretty high. It's around 7 or 8 years. So you need to see how you fit and which programs you want to apply to. Another is that you'll be looking at a cost of a program which, whether you will be able to, justify it by working in India or not, you have to look at those timelines accordingly. So, in case Dushyant or Santhan, if you want to add something to this response.
So yeah, I always had the idea that where I want to work and where I want to live for the long term, I would prefer a program in that country or in that region. So yeah, if I feel if you want to settle in India, I think you should choose an Indian MBA program or an MBA program from abroad. And definitely, Indian programs are much cheaper compared to MBA programs abroad offered abroad.
Right. Okay, so coming to the process, the admissions process for the IIM Bangalore EPGP. So the admission cycle, there are three cycles for this application. The window usually opens by the end of June, and you'll have the first deadline somewhere in August. And this, in terms of what you need to submit to the school, you will need a GMAT or a GRE score, and the essay, two letters of reference. And if you're shortlisted at this stage, from on the basis of the online form, you'll have to go through a written analytical test and the interview. So one very specific point over here is about the online GMAT or GRE score being acceptable for the admission cycle. For the EPGP 2023 intake, the school had allowed the online GMAT GRE score for the tests which were taken up to May 31st, 2022. However, will this be applicable for the next admission cycle or not? We will have to wait for the actual directions from the school itself. Otherwise, for that matter, you can assume that the GMAT or GRE, the online might not be applicable, but we'll still wait for the clear instructions from the school once this application cycle opens up. So, in terms of your experience with the application process, GMAT for working professionals becomes, a very tough, a tough milestone. So, what was your experience of handling the GMAT preparation? What would you suggest any working professional in terms of the timeline or the resources that they should look into? Dushyant, you could go first on this,
I
maybe.
I've told everybody just follow two things: stick to the official material, and there is this channel on YouTube called GMAT Ninja. He has a comprehensive course of the whole test paper. Don't enroll into any of these. Uh, I don't want to take names, but don't enroll into tuition coaches and all that. It's all available for free, and just invest in the books because those are the most real form of GMAT questions you can have. Do these two things, and you're set. You don't need to do anything else for GMAT.
And when should they
Yeah,
start preparing for the GMAT? Santhan, would you, go on the GMAT preparation or the timeline?
definitely. I could give my case. So I started preparing 6 months before I took my GMAT. So the important thing here is to find time after your office and make it a regular habit to practice. Yes, the official guide is good enough, but if you are not able to practice, it won't help you anyway. So it depends on the pace of the candidate. For me, it took 6 months, but yeah, you can design your preparations accordingly.
So along with GMAT, there's a very what do you say? A certain thought around the GMAT is that unless you have a high GMAT, you cannot apply to the top programs. And what they are looking for, the GMAT is the main primary thing. People write the GMAT twice, thrice, so many times before they apply to the programs for the ideal GMAT score. So, what is your take on the GMAT, and how valuable it is for the entire process?
Okay, so I'll take this because I really didn't have a so-called great GMAT score. So it entirely depends on the on your profile, like what you did basically throughout your career, throughout your studies during your school and university. So so the institute actually looks at you overall as a candidate, not only they don't judge you only by your GMAT score. So it depends on your SOP. It depends on the how you handle the interview questions. It depends on how you perform under pressure during the interviews. So things like that come into play. So it is not the GMAT score that will guarantee your admission to your dream B school.
And what are your thoughts on this, Dushyant?
I applied with the 680. So I don't want to. So it's not the most important thing. It's probably 30% of your entire application. The whole how you present yourself, how much time and energy you put into forming your SOPs, how much time you spend with your recommenders and forming the ideal letter of recommendation, which supports your SOPs, and how well you do in the written ability tests, and how you answer the interviewers. All of this makes a big difference, whether you come to the on the interview day, whether you have shaved, whether wearing a good suit, not coming in t-shirts and shorts for an interview. All of this makes a huge difference in your application. It's not just your GMAT score, of course. Higher the better, but what I feel a general ballpark is, if it is about 10 to 15% around the average, or actually the median of the school scores,
Cool.
and you should go ahead and apply for it. Don't think twice.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
want to add something to this. So actually, what I felt the interviewer looks in a candidate is what kind of experience are you going to bring into the cohort. So since we all have applied for a 1 year MBA with a certain amount of experience, the kind of experience, the diversity that we are going to bring into the cohort is one of the important criteria that the interviewer looks for.
Right.
Very true. Very true.
So we are joined here by Chetan has joined us, and he has a question that I have a total 13 plus years of experience in the IT industry, and my salary is also close to 35 lakhs per annum. And my intent of doing an MBA is clear, but opportunity cost becomes high if I decide the EPGP. What should be the next step that I should take? So, Chetan, I think my take on this would be that you should don't go by the salary altogether. Try and see, as to what function or what role are you into right now, and why exactly do you want to look at an MBA. So, in case you're looking at a lateral shift, what happens is that you sometimes have to, forego some part of your salary if essential. That is not the essential case that it might happen with everybody, but maybe you would have to do that when you shift at a lateral role. And so the opportunity cost of losing the salary versus taking up a program is one thing, but look at it from an opportunity of taking up that lateral shift. If you think you can get that lateral shift minus this MBA, don't go in for the MBA at all. If you think that the MBA is going to help you, get that lateral shift and then do well at it and grow in that particular field wherever you want to shift. If that is the that fulfills this criteria, then you should go ahead with the MBA. I think the ROI will also be justified once you understand that that opportunity you will not get a minus the MBA. So if that is the case, then I think it is justified. And Santan, I think you would also have seen a lot of such stories in your tenure with the school. So would you like to share something over here?
Definitely. So the idea behind doing an MBA after having 5 to 7 years of work experience are: one, I need to increase my salary; two, I need to pivot, I need to switch to a new role; three, I need to have relevant skill, like skills which are relevant to survive in the industry in like coming 5 to 10 years. So it depends on what are your requirements for doing an MBA, right? So if salary is the only requirement, I don't know, will it be a good option or not? But definitely, while doing an MBA, you will acquire new skills. You will get to know a lot of people from different industries, so that will add value to your network. And as well as the other part is, yeah, you can pivot in your career if you want. So these are the pros of doing an MBA over over having the idea of increasing the salary only. Yeah.
Right. And Dushyant, you also would have looked into these, questions as to what is the salary that I am doing right now and what is the ROI. So how do you look at the ROI for a program?
See, of course, the salary aspect matters, but at the end of the day, bottom line is it's a very personal question. It's a very personal decision. Is it where you are and where you want to go? Does an MBA help you bridge that gap? And that is a question only you can answer. So if it is a yes, then yes, go for it. If no, then don't go for it.
Right. And
Hmm.
there's a follow-up question to this that having 13 years of experience in the cohort, will I be too old in the cohort? So I
Not really.
think,
So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, so in our batch, we had candidates having 13 years of experience, and the maximum was 16. So you are not really old or not really young, as long as you are eligible for the program.
I think Chetan, this answers your question. He's giving you a, first-hand experience from what he's witnessed in the cohort.
Definitely.
Right. Thank you. And so the next part of our discussion, is your experience and your suggestions as to the whole uh, application process. So there's the SOP, there's then you have to, uh, get your recommenders, you have to choose your recommenders, then there's a written assessment test, and then the interview. So please do share your experiences and your tips and strategies as to what, other people should follow. Dushyant, you could
Maybe
go first
Dushyant,
on
yeah.
this.
Sure. So for the GMAT, I had a lot of input from seniors as to how to go about it. But what worked for me, what worked for them, completely different things. So you need to probably dip yourself in the pool and understand what kind of stroke suits you. Should you join GMAT club and understand what's happening there, solve questions there? Do you need to have one-on-one coaching? It's a very personal thing how you want to go for the GMAT, but the basic things of how you improve your GMAT score generally remain the same. Identify your weak areas, work on them, make sure you dedicate some time every day, if it's even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, make it a habit and get used to how the questions are formed and how you must need to frame your mind to answer them. That is as far as GMAT is concerned. And for your recommenders, for your SOPs, WAT interview, what I did was I separated that from my GMAT, first gave my GMAT, settled on a score, and then I started to focus on the rest. And trust you me, the others take a lot of energy and a lot of time as well. So start a little in advance, get your GMAT out of the way, and then start focusing on your LORs, SOPs. Once that is in place, then prepare for your WATs and your interviews. Make it a three-step process.
Right. And what is the good, how do you actually go ahead with writing the SOPs? So what are some strategies for writing the SOP?
So for the EPGP, you need a minimum of 5 years of experience. So you forget more than what you actually remember. So going through, taking that time and actually remembering what has happened on these 5 6 years. I remember a lot of points that I recollected after my interview was over, which I could have said later, probably because I didn't give it enough time myself. But yeah, give it enough time, recollect what you have done in 5 6 10 13 years. It's a tough task. It is not easy to answer. Once you sit down and start writing your entire story, it might take you a couple of days, maybe a week. But give yourself that time. Only then can you actually sift through and prepare well. Shruti was a big help through this entire process for me personally. um, but yeah, you need to give it time. This is what I really, what I would like to put it. Don't just say that GMAT is done now, I can apply. It won't help you completely.
That is true. Like, yeah, SOP takes a lot of time, so you really need to reflect on
Hmm.
yourself. You really need to think where you want to be, how the program is going to help you. And in a text format, you really need to showcase who you are. So that is the biggest challenge. And yeah, so Shruti helped me with that very effectively. So having a mentor like Shruti is very important in SOP. That's what I feel. So who can
Yeah.
really who can really bring out your skills and showcase what you have.
Right. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And there is this written assessment test, the analytical writing test. So this is something very unique to this program, and it is something which is not very well known in terms of how to approach it. So what was it like? What was the experience like? And what do you think were they expecting? And share some inputs as to the preparation that goes into it.
Well,
Okay, so
for,
I'll
go
take
ahead,
this
go
up.
ahead. Let Sam can answer.
So my idea was to be informed about what is happening around me from a year before my interview. So I planned my program in such a way that uh, I had a very timelined approach actually. So I started to prepare my GMAT side by side. I started to like make myself aware what is happening around me. So that knowledge actually helps. So if you read the newspaper daily, I think that is going to be enough for a written application test.
Right. And Dushyant, your take on the VAT preparation.
I'd say you, yes, going through newspaper, going through maybe subscribing to a service like The Economist or New York Times, help keep yourself abreast about what's happening in the world, macroeconomically and in India. It all adds up. You don't know the kind of question they're gonna throw at you. For my program, it was related to the Commonwealth Games and governance around that in India. So it was completely something which I had briefly touched upon maybe a week ago. And the idea was to have a structure in place so practice helps. GOALisB provided us with a set of maybe 50, 60 topics. So you take two a day, three a day, spend 15 minutes writing and practicing. And then when you're on the final day, it's a breeze. It's very easy. Form your own process saying, okay, first I'll understand what I have to write, and then maybe spend 8 minutes writing it, and then the last 2 minutes just reviewing if you've not made any mistakes.
Thank you. So we have a question in the meanwhile. So Chetan has a follow-up question which he asks, will pre-MBA salary be the criteria for the AdCom to reject my application? Also, as a follow-up to my previous question, can I expect any hike in the post-MBA salary? So Chetan, again, coming from the industry that you are, the pre-MBA and the post-MBA salary will totally depend on the new role that you go into. So the hike depends on where you are headed and what your career plans are. I would suggest that you should research as to what roles are being offered on campus, and whether that really suits what you have in mind. So if it fits what you have in mind, then I I'm pretty sure that they would, see some value in the previous experience that you have, and you can get high post MBA salaries. That is definitely the case. However, will that be a reason, your pre-MBA salary be a reason to reject your application? Probably not. If things look in sync, so your story has to be in sync, and your expectations from the program also have to be in sync. If you're expecting just a salary hike from this program, probably a job change or a job shift would be more justified. And if your story is in sync with what kind of growth you are looking at, then I think the post MBA salary hike will definitely follow. But Santan, in case you have anything to add, from your first hand experience, please do share your thoughts.
No, no, actually, like you summarized it really well. So, uh, I think salary is not a barrier to your application or acceptance to the program, and it really depends on you as a program, as a candidate of the program. It depends on your placement committee, like what kind of companies you are going to bring and what kind of profiles you are going to get on campus, and how much you negotiate. So it really depends on your profile, and it really depends on you. The salary after MBA, it really depends on you and your profile actually.
So the onus of your salary post MBA also depends on the efforts that you are putting into, negotiate and prove your worth and build that resume in that way. So I think this is another aspect to what I mentioned initially. I hope, Chetan, that addresses your question. So, coming back to our discussion, we were looking at the, experience and the IIM Bangalore interview is one thing which is very a unique experience for everyone. So if you please share your interview experience and things that would help the others who are preparing for the interviews. What they should start well ahead in time or other things. Again, there's another concept over here is that GK, static GK, and if you're going to an IIM Bangalore or an IIM interview, you need to have a lot of general knowledge, and it should be up your sleeve. So, what are your thoughts from your experience on this? So, Dushyant, I think you could take it first. You have a more recent experience of the interview.
Um, so for me, again, there was a mock interview that was done by GOALisB, and it was an hour-long interview, post which they spent a lot of time on telling me on aspects which I needed to work on. The most important aspect was to be abreast of the Indian economy, to be speaking slowly, and so that the interviewer is coherent of what I am actually trying to say, taking a moment before answering any questions, so it doesn't have to start immediately. Once you get a question, you can take 5 to 6 seconds, breathe, frame your answer, and then give the answer. And as far as static GK is concerned, when you start preparing for the GMAT, there is a general advice that is given that you must read news on a daily basis. In India, they say read the Hindu or read Deccan Chronicle. In America, they tell you to read New York Times and The Economist. It's better to read the American versions of these is because GMAT verbal section is based on American English. So once you start reading them, you are generally abreast of what is happening in the world. So don't worry about GK as long as the GMAT preparation is on these lines. And as far as the interview is concerned, understand that you cannot have answers to all questions. There were a couple of questions that were thrown to me which I had no idea how to answer. The idea is how you deal with such situations, where I very politely told the interview team that I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this, but I will read up on it. And how you handle that situation is also something that they look at, because they will put you under pressure. That is what they want to do. They want to know how you react in these situations.
Right.
Yes.
So something to add to this is like, for an interview, you really need to be prepared. You really need to be aware of what you have, what informations you have provided in your SOP and in your resume.
Absolutely.
That is really important. So that is one part. Second thing is that, yeah. So as Dushan mentioned, like being aware of what is happening around you really helps in the interview. And another thing is that you have to be very well aware of the field you are coming from. of the experience that you are having. So you really need to be in your in command in the interview, where the interviewer asks like, tell me something about yourself and tell me something about your work experience. So from there you actually get to drive the interview. So if you do that part well, yeah, you can do well. So the really important thing is that driving the interview to the areas of your strength. I know what I know. I want the interviewer to ask me what I know. So that is something, yeah, you can try while doing taking mock interviews.
If I can just add to that, just a quick statement is be involved in
Mhm.
your own SOP process, in your own LOR process, because if you have been involved in every line that is written, that is presented to the interviewer, then you know what is being presented to them, because they're going to ask you questions only from your own SOPs and LORs. They don't have any other information.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what about the stress part of the interview? What was it like, and what are some strategies that if anybody can prepare for that situation?
Just have a good smile. I think that really helps in the like for like some. It gives you
There
some
is
time. You get to
there
think.
is a in football there is a saying, it's in this recent TV show also, that you should have a memory of a goldfish when it comes to stressful situations. Goldfish forgets the a bad incident in 5 seconds and moves on to the next one, because if you let a bad
Exactly.
situation in the interview hold you down, then the rest of the interview goes for a toss. So if something that you don't know is asked you, accept it and concentrate on doing well in the next question.
Right. So, SG has joined us and he has a question that does IMB EPGP accept the online GMAT? So, SG, I had this question from your email and I've taken it up before, but I'll address it again here. So, in the 2023 intake, they have accepted the online GMAT for the people who had written it online till May 31st May 2022. However, will this be applicable even now? We are not very clear on that, so it is best to wait for the new instructions and then decide as to whether it will be valid or not. So we cannot really assume because this was clearly mentioned that it was only for the 2023 intake. I hope that addresses the question. Right. And coming to the program components, there are so many things that are packed in 1 year. You have electives, there are around 10 categories with more than 50 electives. You can choose your electives from across the programs which are conducted at IIM Bangalore. Then you have a whole lot of clubs which you can be participate in. Even in the EPGP and the IMB EPGP is a participant with the Global Network for Advanced Management, and there is an international immersion at the schools, the European schools, IE and ESCP. On top of that, you have so many other competitions to handle. So, what is this 1 year like, and what is the whole experience of 1 year, and how do you what all are the curriculum based takeaways that you have during this programs, and then could you share your the
Yeah.
highlights that you feel were important?
So the unique thing about EPGP is that it actually allows you to choose electives across program. Now, how does that help you? So you are in a class with the PGPs who have like very limited experience, but they're very competitive. And you are in a class with the PGPEMs who are in a very senior position in some company, have a lot of work experience, and then you are in the part of the discussion. So that really enriches your knowledge. So I think that is one of the best part of the EPGP program. And the other thing is that the GNAM. So IMB is the only Indian institute to be part of the GNAM network. So that really allows you to choose programs from other partner institutes, to know people from other partner institutes and network more. So I think IMB stands out like from the other 1 year full time programs in these two aspects.
Right. So Samir has joined us and he has a question. He's asking, I have a typical IT profile with 10 years work experience. How do I make sure my profile stands out? So Samir, the key over here is to introspect. Your typical IT profile would probably have a lot of atypical things if you go into the depth of the projects that you have done, the kind of people that you have worked with. What are the things that make you a sound professional? So there'll be some things which will be unique about you. So you need to introspect it at length and maybe talk to people around you as well. So people who know you professionally and personally, and then draw out a certain scenario where you feel and you find those things that make your profile stand out. So introspection is the most important part over here. Try and pen down your work experience, try and see what makes you, what lessons you learned at every place and how you've developed as a professional. I think you'll have a lot of inputs from there to see what makes your profile stands out. So Santhar, one more follow-up question on what we were discussing recently on the competition. So there's every day every very frequently we look at IIM Bangalore participating in the competition. So what is your experience
Definitely.
of these competitions? I think you also participated in quite a few of
Yes,
them.
yes.
And how do you balance the curriculum along with this? So what is this whole experience like?
So competitions will be a part of your MBA program wherever you be. So the competitions are organized by different institutes, and you really need to focus on what type of competitions you want to participate in. Like what will add value to. I mean, this is my thoughts. Like what will add value to your profile. The thing is that you might be interested in marketing, right? So you will participate in marketing competitions, and you won't really focus on something like finance or operations. So like that, you need to choose on what competitions you are going to participate in, and otherwise, if you want to participate in everything, you will not get the time. That is one of the things. So there's a fine balance, right? So balance, you have to balance the academics, the competitions, your personal life, everything. So
Yeah,
that is how it
and
is.
you shifted, from the oil and gas industry to the IT sector. So, what were the things, or what is it that somebody who's trying to pivot himself to a new sector, what would be your suggestions to follow during this program, for pivoting yourself to a new sector at all?
So the first and most important thing is that have a clarity where you want to be, in which sector you want to be, and acquire skills accordingly. So yeah, I have moved to tech. I'm now working in a supply chain solutions company. So my idea was to learn analytics more and more. So I took courses based on analytics in IMB. And the other thing is that, so when you are going for an MBA program, you must be having some sort of role in your mind where you want to be. Look at the JDs, acquire the skills from the electives accordingly. If required, do a certification. So that is how it is going to add value to your profile.
Right. So at the end of the program or every evaluation of every program is what the placements are like. So what sectors do people go into? And when you are choosing your programs, it is very important to look at the placement reports. Look at what the course has to offer. What are the kind of recruiters? Who are the kind of recruiters which are coming in? Are those fitting in with what your plans are? So to understand the EPGB program placements, I think this is from the class of 22 data that the website shares. So consulting is around 51% of the placements at the IMB EPGB program, followed by IT, the IT or the tech sector, and that is around 27%. Then e-commerce, retail, fashion, and the healthcare, energy, ITES are almost represented s- quite well in the whole placement cycle as well. So in case you are thinking of what is what is it that the course has to offer, and whether this sector is represented or not. It is always best to go ahead and look into the placement reports and try and understand from the alumni and what their career trajectory has been like, to see whether those are fitting in with the goals that you have with the programs as well. So finally, coming to the question, that is the IIM Executive MBA worth it? What are your expectations from the program? What are the criteria that you used, which were important to evaluate the program? So, Dushyant, would you like to share your thoughts on, what are some things that, apart from the salary or the usual numbers, the cost of the program, what are other things that you looked into which helped you evaluate these programs?
Personally, I feel there isn't much like as far as value provided to a person between, let's say, I am Ahmedabad, I am Calcutta, I am Bangalore, and ISB. These four are the top tier B schools of India. There isn't much that is separating them. There are slight differences in the program, but there isn't much. As far as personally for me is concerned, is that I was based in Bangalore. I am based in Bangalore. My wife is here. My home is here, and it was an obvious decision for me to stay as close to home as possible. I didn't want to go too far away. So I chose IIM Bangalore for that reason. In fact, the moment I got my IIM Bangalore admit, I stopped my application process for IIM Ahmedabad, Calcutta, ISB completely. I did not pursue even submitting my application on their websites. I was so clear on having wanting to go for IIM Bangalore. That was my criteria, but for you, could be different.
True.
Okay, so
And then what would you suggest? What are the what should be the expectations from the program, and what are some criteria that are important to evaluate?
I would generally look at the structure of the program, the electives that are being offered, and do I want to acquire those skills or not. So that was the most important criteria for me. And expectation, like you set your own expectation, and it is your duty to deliver according to your expectation. So it is not like that. I have got admission in IMB and I'll be like sought after candidate after my course ends. No, it doesn't happen like that. so so it really depends on you how much effort you put to acquire those skills, and that is the only thing that is going to differentiate you from the other candidates in whichever program you are in.
Right. So the whole, the change has to be in your mindset. You have to, what do you say, hustle and bring yourself up to speed to the curriculum, to the expectations of the recruiters, and you will achieve the desired goals. I believe if you have that attitude, then each of the programs will be equally suitable for your career goals. Right. So I think we've already taken up this question on the 35 lakhs per annum. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for taking the time out, Tushant and Santan. It's quite late at night, and we appreciate it. And all the best for your career ahead.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.